Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're tackling IELTS speaking skills, using a real example to help you understand what it takes to score well on the speaking section.
Yeah, and we'll be looking at a sample answer from IELTS Band 9 Practice 1 and breaking down why it works so you can use these strategies on any topic.
Exactly. It's not about memorizing answers, it's about understanding what makes them strong. You ready to get started?
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
Okay, perfect. So the first few questions on the IELTS speaking test are usually about familiar topics like your hometown or your daily routines, right? They seem pretty simple. But what are they really looking for?
They are trying to see how well you can organize your thoughts, the kinds of vocabulary you use, and how fluently you can speak. Think of it as like a warm-up.
Right, like you're getting your communication muscles ready to go.
Exactly.
All right, so let's jump right into the first question from our source material now. Can you tell me a little bit about your hometown or where you are from?
I'm from Ho Chi Minh City, the largest and most bustling city in Vietnam. It's a dynamic metropolis, known for its vibrant energy, skyscrapers, and rich history. From modern shopping malls to historic landmarks like the Notre Dame Cathedral and the War Remnants Museum, it's a city where tradition meets modernity. The food scene is also incredible, with street vendors offering delicious dishes like pho and banh mi at every corner.
Wow, okay, so that answer really paints a picture in my mind. I felt like I was right there in Ho Chi Minh City. What did they do so well in that answer?
Well, a few things. They used really vivid sensory descriptions. So instead of just saying, big city, we got bustling metropolis and vibrant energy, you could practically feel the energy,
Yeah,
right?
and then I loved how they worked in those specific examples, like those local dishes. Now I want some pho.
Exactly. Those details make your answer come alive and show the examiner that you can use a wide range of vocabulary naturally. But notice how they didn't just throw a bunch of words in there. The answer has a really clear structure to it. They started by introducing the city, then talked about some key features, and then they finished up with what makes it special, the food.
Right, that makes sense. A good structure really helps your listener follow along, even if they're not familiar with the topic at all.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so let's move on to question number 2. This one often follows up on the first.
Okay, sounds good. How long have you been living here there?
I've been living in Ho Chi Minh City for almost 20 years now. I was born and raised here, so I've seen how the city has transformed over the years into a more modern and international hub. Despite the changes, it has always retained its unique cultural identity, which makes living here so special.
Okay, so this one is short and sweet, but it still gets the point across really well. What's the strategy here?
It's all about transitions. They used phrases like born and raised here, so I've seen, and despite the changes. These linking phrases create a natural flow between ideas and make their speech sound effortless.
Yeah, it's like the glue that holds everything together. And so instead of just answering the question with a date or a number, they've also woven in a little bit of their own personal experience, which I think is really nice.
It does. And remember, even though the IELTS is a test, it's still about communication, right? So showing a bit of your personality and making it sound natural can go a long way.
That's a great point. Okay, so let's move on to the third question from our source material. What do you like about living here there?
What I love most about living in Ho Chi Minh City is the fast-paced lifestyle and the opportunities it offers. Whether it's career prospects, education, or entertainment, there's always something going on. The people are friendly and entrepreneurial, which creates an exciting and competitive environment. Plus, the food is exceptional. There's a never-ending variety of local and international cuisine to explore.
Okay, so I'm noticing a trend here. Vivid descriptions, specific examples, a clear structure. They really make a difference.
They really, really do. They clearly stated their reasons for liking their city, but then they took it a step further by giving us those concrete examples. So instead of just saying, like, there are opportunities, they mentioned career prospects, education, entertainment.
Yeah. And they didn't forget to appeal to our senses either. Friendly and entrepreneurial, exciting and competitive environment, those phrases create a much richer picture than just saying, like, it's a good place to live.
Exactly. Now, one thing to notice is that this is a pretty positive question, but what happens when they ask you about something negative? Like,
Okay, I see. Yeah. Is there anything you find difficult about living here there?
one of the main challenges is the traffic. Ho Chi Minh City is notorious for its congestion, especially during peak hours. The sheer volume of motorbikes and cars can be overwhelming, and commuting can be quite stressful. Another issue is the air quality, which has deteriorated due to rapid urbanization and pollution. It can be tough to escape the noise and hustle at times. One of the main challenges is the traffic. Ho Chi Minh City is notorious for its congestion, especially during peak hours. The sheer volume of motorbikes and cars can be overwhelming, and commuting can be quite stressful. Another issue is the air quality, which has deteriorated due to rapid urbanization and pollution. It can be tough to escape the noise and hustle at times.
That's a great example of handling like a potentially tricky question really gracefully. They didn't shy away from those negative aspects, but they also didn't dwell on them.
Right, exactly. They acknowledged the challenge, the traffic, the air quality, but they kept it balanced. And instead of just saying, like, the traffic is terrible, they actually explained why, mentioning the overwhelming number of vehicles and the stressful commutes.
Yeah, and they did the same thing with the air quality, linking it back to urbanization and pollution. It shows they're really thinking critically about the issue.
Precisely, yeah. It's about demonstrating that you can analyze and articulate your thoughts, even when you're discussing something a bit negative.
So even with a more challenging question, those key ingredients still apply. Vivid language, specific examples, clear structure.
Absolutely. Okay, ready for question number 5?
Bring it on. How do you get to school college work?
I usually take my motorbike to university, which is the quickest way to get around the city. It's about a 30-minute ride from my home to the University of Technology and Education, depending on the traffic. I prefer using my bike because it allows me to navigate through the narrow streets and avoid getting stuck in traffic jams. Sometimes I take the bus if I want to avoid the stress of driving in heavy traffic.
Okay, this question seems pretty straightforward, but I can see how it could be easy to give an answer that's a little too simple, you know?
Yeah. It's really easy to just give like a one-word answer or be too general, but this answer gives us the full picture. They mention their usual mode of transport, the distance, the time it takes, even why they prefer it.
And I like how they anticipated that possible follow-up question by mentioning the bus as an alternative.
Exactly, yeah. It shows they're thinking ahead and really engaging with the question on a deeper level.
All right, let's look at question number 6. Tell me a little bit about what you study.
I'm studying mechanical engineering at the University of Technology and Education here in Ho Chi Minh City. The program focuses on the design, development, and maintenance of machines and mechanical systems. It's a highly technical and challenging field, but it's fascinating to learn how different technologies work and how they can be improved. We also have hands-on projects that allow us to apply theoretical knowledge to real-world problems.
Now, this is where the vocabulary can get a bit more specific to their field of study.
It can, and that's a good thing. This is their chance to show off what they know, within their field, and notice how they use those specific terms. Mechanical systems, highly technical, theoretical knowledge, it shows they really know their stuff.
Yeah, but they don't just like throw jargon around or anything. They explain the purpose of these terms and why they're important, like mentioning hands-on projects and applying knowledge to real-world problems. That makes it relatable, even if you're not an engineer.
Exactly. They're not just listing technical terms, they're demonstrating a deep understanding of their field and why it matters to them.
Okay, let's move on to question number 7, which delves a bit deeper into their academic experience. What do you like about your studies? Is there anything you dislike?
I really enjoy the practical aspect of my studies. We get to work on real-life projects and use advanced tools, which is incredibly rewarding. It's not just about sitting in a classroom. We're constantly learning by doing. However, one downside is that the workload can be intense. Sometimes the amount of theory we need to study feels overwhelming, and there's a lot of pressure to stay up to date with technological advancements.
This is a good example of how to answer a question that has both, like a positive and a negative side to it.
It is. They begin by highlighting what they enjoy, giving specific examples like real-life projects and advanced tools, but then they transition smoothly into the challenges, acknowledging the heavy workload and the pressure to stay updated.
Yeah, and they did it without, like, actually complaining. They're honest about the difficulties, but it doesn't come across negatively.
Exactly. It shows maturity and self-awareness.
Okay, ready for a bit of a change of pace. Question 8 takes us to the topic of travel. Have you traveled to another country?
Yes, I had the opportunity to travel to Singapore last year. It was an amazing experience because the city is incredibly modern and efficient. I was especially impressed by how clean and well-organized everything was. The blend of different cultures, including Chinese, Malay, and Indian, made for a rich and diverse experience, particularly when it came to food and architecture.
I love how they brought their travel experience to life there. I felt like I was right there with them.
That's the power of good descriptions. They didn't just say Singapore was nice. They used words like incredibly modern, well-organized, rich, and diverse. And they backed it up with those specific details about the cleanliness, the blend of cultures, the food, the architecture.
It's so much more engaging and memorable that way. Do you enjoy traveling? Why? Why not?
I absolutely love traveling because it allows me to experience new cultures, meet different people, and step out of my comfort zone. It's fascinating to see how other cities function and how their way of life differs from mine. Traveling also broadens my perspective and gives me fresh ideas, which is especially important in my field of study. It's a great way to take a break from the daily routine and come back feeling more energized.
Okay, I can hear the enthusiasm in their voice. They clearly love to travel, and they've given us a ton of reasons why.
They did, yeah. They highlighted the opportunity to experience new cultures, meet new people, step out of their comfort zone, and they even linked it back to their personal and professional life, mentioning how traveling broadens their perspective and inspires new ideas for their field of study.
Yeah, it's like they're saying travel isn't just a fun hobby, it's an investment in myself.
I love that. It adds a whole other layer of depth, right? It shows they're thinking about the bigger picture.
Exactly. All right, last but not least, question 10. What's your favorite form of travel? Why?
I prefer traveling by plane, especially for longer distances, because it's the fastest and most convenient way to get from one place to another. While I also enjoy the scenic views during train or bus rides, air travel saves time and allows me to explore more destinations. The comfort of modern airplanes, along with the in-flight entertainment, makes the journey more enjoyable as well.
Again, a really simple question, but they made it so much more interesting with those details.
Right. And they even managed to work in that comparison with other modes of travel. Like, they highlighted why planes are good, but they also acknowledged that trains and buses have their own appeal, too.
It shows a lot of thoughtfulness in how they structure the answer.
Exactly.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into these 10 IELTS speaking questions. I don't know about you, but I feel like I learned a lot.
Me too. It
Yeah,
was really interesting to break down those answers and see what makes them so effective.
definitely. So to wrap things up for our listeners, what would you say are the biggest takeaways here for someone who wants to ace the IELTS speaking test?
Well, I think the most important thing is to remember that it's a conversation, not just a test. Relax, be yourself, and try to enjoy the experience.
I love that. It shouldn't feel robotic or anything like that.
Right. And then, of course, those key ingredients that we talked about, vivid language, specific examples, a clear structure, those are going to make your answers really stand out.
Yeah, it's all about bringing your experiences to life for the listener.
Exactly. And, practice makes perfect, so don't be afraid to record yourself answering these types of questions. You'll be amazed at how much it helps.
That's such good advice. And on that note, let's give our listeners one last chance to practice with those 10 IELTS speaking questions. So listen carefully and imagine yourself delivering amazing answers. Here we go. 1. Can you tell me a little bit about your hometown or where you were from? 2. How long have you been living here there? 3. What do you like about living here there? 4. Is there anything you find difficult about living here there? 5. How do you get to school, college, work? 6. Tell me a little bit about what you study. 7. What do you like about your studies? Is there anything you dislike? 8. Have you traveled to another country? 9. Do you enjoy traveling? Why? Why not? And 10. What's your favorite form of travel? Why? And that's it for today's deep dive. We hope this has given you some valuable tools and insights to help you rock that IELTS speaking test. Until next time, happy practicing.